The most fundamental cornerstone of Nolan's cinema is memory and the resulting concept of identity. His central concern is, who we are depends on what we remember, but what if our memory is lying? We see the most extreme example of this in Memento, 2000, the film that brought Nolan international recognition. Our protagonist, Leonard, suffers from short-term memory loss. The film proceeds in a reverse chronological order, mixing black and white and color scenes. With this structural technique, Nolan puts the viewer in the same situation as Leonard. We must solve what has happened in every new scene. This forces the audience to constantly question their own memory and the reliability of Leonard's narrative. A similar obsession is explored in The Prestige, 2006, through the themes of secrecy and identity. The three stages of the magic trick, the pledge, the turn, and the prestige, actually define the life cycles and obsessions of the characters, Angier and Borden. They try to achieve the prestige, the perfect ending to the illusion, by changing their identities, mimicking others' lives, and even using cloning technology. Nolan whispers this to the audience here. Obsession is a way for a person to create their own reality. If Nolan is an architect, the structure he builds is time. He rejects the idea that time is just a linear line progressing with the tick-tock of clocks. In his cinema, time bends, slows down, flows simultaneously, and even reverses. Inception, 2010, is the most complex example of this layered perception of time. As we dream within a dream, time flows at a different rate in each layer. Seconds in reality turn into hours, or even years in the dream state. Nolan uses parallel editing to allow us to experience these different time levels simultaneously, perfecting the technique of mise en abîme, nested structure. A more experimental example is Dunkirk, 2017. In this war film, Nolan uses three different timelines: the mole, 1 week, the sea, 1 day, and the air, 1 hour. These timelines converge at the film's climax, allowing the audience to feel the tension of the entire operation, not just the soldiers. And, of course, Interstellar, 2014. Here, time is not just a psychological perception, but a physical variable. 1 hour spent by the characters on a planet equals 7 years on Earth. Nolan works with scientific advisors to turn the theory of relativity into an emotional epic. The film shows that time is not just something that sequences events, but a powerful physical force that can even clash with the most human emotions like love and sacrifice. The ultimate point of this concept is Tenet, 2020. Here, Nolan makes the concept of entropy the engine of the story. Objects and people can flow in reverse, which requires the audience to constantly re-establish the cause and effect relationship. Nolan's heroes are often flawed. They are lonely men dedicated to a mission, an obsession, or an ideology. The Dark Knight trilogy, 2005-2012, is a study of morality and chaos in the form of a superhero film, especially The Dark Knight, 2008, which presents the conflict between Batman and the Joker not just as a physical fight, but as a philosophical war between order and anarchy. Through Heath Ledger's iconic Joker, Nolan questions how easily society can be corrupted, the allure of anarchy, and the ethical sacrifice required to be a hero. Batman constantly struggles with the dilemma of whether to break his own rules, because according to Nolan, true heroism is the ability to make the hardest choices. In his latest masterpiece, Oppenheimer, 2023, this moral questioning reaches its peak through a real historical figure. The film examines how the actions of a scientist are not limited to the laboratory, but can change the fate of all humanity. The silence after the nuclear explosion, the Trinity test, in the film vividly reflects Oppenheimer's guilt, his horror at the magnitude of the destruction he created, and the burden of living with the label Father of Destruction. Nolan once again invites us not to judge the hero, but to understand him. The most important characteristic that distinguishes Nolan from his contemporaries is his obsession with technical perfection and practical effects. Nolan avoids digital effects, CGI, as much as possible. The rotating corridor in Inception, the truck genuinely flipping over in the dark night. These are choices made so that the audience knows that what they are seeing on screen was actually there. This strengthens the perception of reality in his films and creates a tangible sense of a world that balances the philosophical complexity. Another proof of his cinematographic genius is his passion for using IMAX cameras. IMAX not only provides a large image, but also ensures that Nolan's epic-scale stories completely immerse the audience. We feel the tension in a narrow cockpit in Dunkirk and the vastness of space in Interstellar through this format. And, of course, the music. His partnership with Hans Zimmer is the emotional engine of his narration. Zimmer's music, especially the organ sounds in Interstellar and the continuously increasing rhythm in Dunkirk, kicks in when the dialogue stops and creates a state of tension. The music doesn't just accompany the scene. It represents the character's subconscious, the distortion of time, and the ambiguity of reality. Christopher Nolan uses cinema as a puzzle box, a labyrinth, and a philosophy class. When his works conclude, he leaves the audience not with a simple answer, but with a complex question. Did Leonard truly find the killer in Memento? Was Cobb awake or still in a dream at the end of Inception? Did that totem keep spinning? Nolan deliberately avoids giving these answers, because his cinema argues that the search for truth is more important than the truth itself. He transformed us from passive viewers into active participants. He is a master who leaves us in that void after every screening, forcing us to question reality, time, and identity. Christopher Nolan's legacy is not just visual spectacles. It is the modern person's endless struggle with consciousness and reality.